Good evening, Toastmasters. Thank you for attending tonight's leadership learning session. Tonight, we're going to talk about the podcast workshop, your initial setup. Do know that our presenter for tonight, Tommy Kenyon, has a lot of good information for us. I hope you have a pen, paper, your fingers are nimble, and you're ready to go. At this time, I would like to introduce our presenter tonight. Thomas Kenyon is a technology enthusiast, a video editor, a live stream expert, and a digital media expert with over a decade of experience. He also serves as the District 50 audio video chair. Thomas is a visionary communications level 4, strategic relations level 5, and persuasive influence level 2. He's also the area 44 director. At this time, you're not here to hear me, you're here to learn about the podcast workshop. I would like to introduce to you our presenter for tonight, Tommy Kenyon.
Unmuted. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I can. I have everyone in audio, so you can unmute and respond. If you look in the chat, I have the chat somewhere. I just have to change screens, but I can hear in my ear if you respond with your microphone. But welcome to this workshop on basic podcast setup. My name is Tommy Kenyon. I'll be guiding you through the steps to get your podcast up and running. Before we begin, it's important to have a clear idea of what your podcast will be about and who your targeting audience is. Who are you talking to? It's good to have that one person in mind, maybe a friend, maybe a family member, maybe someone else. It's good to have that one person that you're going to talk to, and you're going to envision this little camera dot or microphone, whatever you're talking into. You're going to envision and imagine that that's that person you're talking to. This will help you choose the right equipment and software for your needs. Now let's go through the basic steps. Well, before we go through the basic steps, does anyone have anything share? Take a few ideas before we get, because that's the start of the podcast. Ideas, and I know we have a bunch of them because we're Toastmasters. I'm trying to relate this to Toastmasters and what we're doing with Toastmasters. Anyone have any ideas what they could talk about?
I had an idea about a podcast, and I was going to do it with my level 4 project, but as president, somebody couldn't give a speech and I had to give one, so I missed that. And level 5 didn't have the podcast, but I still want to learn how to put it together. I was going to do a podcast called "It's Your Body," and I wanted to start with just bodybuilding. And I had a couple of trainers and things I was going to talk to, and then I was going to talk about nutrition in the next one, and I have a person I was going to talk to about. And my daughter's a nurse and focusing on psych nursing. I was going to "It's Your Body," and I was going to talk about psych patients and some of the things they go through. So I had about 5 different things that I was going to put in place for each week or each session of my podcast. 10 to 12 minutes, I think they're supposed to be, but probably be a little longer. But yeah, that was my idea.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Robert. Mays, correct? I may come back to you with some using as an example as we move through this workshop, if that's okay with you, and
Absolutely.
get you setting up and start taking action, starting and pushing record and everything. Anyone else have any ideas before we get started?
I do. I'll go if you don't mind. I can go.
Andrea.
Hi. Yeah, so I think it's amazing that Robert Mays was talking about health, because I actually started a blog called Generational Health. And as you guys know, I went on a weight loss journey. For those of you that don't know, I was able to lose over 50 pounds. And I was the only adult in my immediate family that doesn't have diabetes, that isn't spending a massive amount on healthcare, health-related issues. It's rather reactive in my family than proactive. And so as I was talking to people about it, I realized that everybody's concerned with generational wealth, but people don't understand that generational health is just as important. And generational health is the foundation to wealth, because if you're not here, you can't compound upon it. But the idea was going to essentially just breaking it down. People think that weight loss, being fit, being healthy is expensive, it's only for bodybuilders, and that's not true. So I was doing interviews with everyday people like me and you, who are vast backgrounds, very diverse, and just getting opinions and ideas and tips and tricks on what they do. I was also going to different gyms and interviewing the gym owners, doing a scope of the gym to show people what it's like at each gym and the environment. So the podcast idea was to bring different individuals on from various backgrounds and have them talk a little bit about what they're doing, how to incorporate their kids, and how to expand upon generational health. Sorry.
Oh,
Right, and I just realized as I co-host, I just stopped being spotlighted real quick. But yeah, thank you. Heard from two great ideas. Those are two popular subjects in podcasts and in the content creator world too. Physical fitness, health, and they're both related too, right? You can't. I agree. You can't to focus and shoot for your wealth if you're not healthy. That's not going to happen. So I believe both are important. So you have a great subject. And yeah, there's a lot of those going on, but the good thing and why you do this, the good thing about podcasting is you can do it your own way. You can start a YouTube channel, you can create your own videos and do it differently than maybe someone else is doing it. Hey, I can do this better. So don't worry about if there's so many people doing it already. If you can do it better, you can reach someone else that maybe someone else isn't. But why we do this? Why podcasting? Why has podcasting taken on so much of a big deal in the last decade? Why? Audio only. It's easy to listen to. You can multitask. You can at work, sitting at your desk, you can have it in your ear. You can it can be on demand. You can save and save the recording, save the downloads to your computer, to your phone. Why they call it a podcast, because it's in these small devices. You can store it and have it on demand, listen to it anytime you need, at your own pace, at your own schedule, stop, start, and just back up and listen at your own pace. That's where I'm getting at there. One thing for content creators, it can be less scary for when you're just starting out person record. I urge everyone to do, if you haven't done anything yet, do that first one. Just get it. I got news for you. It's going to be bad. Mine was bad. I can show you one video that I did way back when. It was terrible. Just like my first speech in Toastmasters, it was terrible. But you get better. You get better the more you do it. So it's less scary, especially when you're starting out your own schedule. Possibilities of the podcast, and I'm going to relate this to Toastmasters. Here we go. Find my mouse, and I'm going to put I'm going to use this website as to connect podcasting and Toastmasters. They say it like this. I'm going to read it, just if you can't read this. they have it right up here. The Toastmasters podcast for them is just like a radio talk show featuring interviews. Toastmasters usually featured in Toastmaster magazine, but like a radio show, a podcast is on the internet and available for free to anyone in the world with an internet connection and a connected device capable of playing audio. 150 plus episodes are on this one, so, and you can see where it's all available, the different content types and much more if you scroll down on that page. So possibilities. And I was just thinking about today in a club meeting. I was in one of the clubs I joined a while back, and we were talking about how to Twitterize the club. And then I started thinking of more along lines of podcasts. How can we maybe make the club into a podcast? Maybe instead of having a club meeting, and if you do online meetings, I mentioned this before we got started, you're already halfway there. You got the recording. All you need to do now is find a place to upload. Long form keynotes, speeches, 5 to 7, 4 to 6. You can share videos up to 10 minutes on Twitter, and you can have like these like a Twitter live thing, like maybe a Twitter club meeting. It'll be weird but different in a way, and you can upload 10-minute speeches to Twitter, video, audio. You can have, and I already shared toastmasterspodcast.com, evaluations, table topics, and you can have people chime in, reply. The page can be private, can be public. So again, I mentioned a few. Where can you upload? Where can podcasts be? There's a bunch of free options. You can use Twitter, Facebook, on social media, YouTube. I mentioned before we start. Anchor FM, anchor.fm. Hey, who has heard of anchor.fm? A free one that you can, it pretty much does the promotion, the sponsorship, distribution all in one. You can even add video through there, and you can add video up on Spotify going through anchor.fm these days. Google Drive, if you want it to be less publicized but still have a link, all you have to do is publish it with a link that you can share with someone, and guess what? You have a podcast. So you can use Google Drive. It doesn't have to be that public. You can privately share a podcast link. The other ones I shared, YouTube is free. Libsyn, if I can get to a front facing. Bear with me as I get back to. This is Libsyn. This is the back end of Libsyn. See if I can just get to. Yeah, start podcasting. Your podcast host, and this is how most do it. You have a host that you can distribute the podcast. I'm gonna take this lower third down. The host to distribute the podcast. Podbean is another one. You can use SoundCloud. SoundCloud, you can pay a yearly price or anything, but those are some of the paid ones if you want a little more complicated distribution. Any questions so far? Right, I talked so far about possibilities. Why podcasting? Where can you upload to? Any questions so far? Do
you have a recommendation for your first podcast? You listed some that are costly, is what I think you said. But your first podcast, as you're starting, is there something free that you can do that as well, or those are not recommended?
So I mentioned I mentioned it. Let me get to it where I can show you. Anchor.fm. Go to it. You can get started first to recording. So if you want to take a club meeting, you can record that, but record just with your phone. Speak into your phone, use your memo app, press record on there, talk, and you share some ideas, then upload that. you can create an account. I believe it's been a minute, but it just should still be free.
Okay.
Free podcasting platform, right? It says right there. Yeah, anchor.fm. So that's easy when to start. Just create an account there, and it does a lot. It sets you up with success with the right steps in uploading and setting up your episodes, and even sets you up with a little sponsorship. It uses your voice, and you have a script that you're given, and you say this one thing, and it's pretty much an Anchor ad, an Anchor sponsor. They're your sponsor, and it's your voice saying everything good about Anchor.
Okay.
So that's, if you want the distribution, it's a great free option to use. Once you get bigger, then you can start paying a little money and everything, or if you just want to pay money and have maybe a little more features, you do the other ones. But it's up to you. You can start here. You can start anywhere you like.
All right, good deal.
But good question. Thank you for the question. And so let's get into how to podcast. And after the end, we can go over a few steps with, I know, Robert, Andrea, if you want to have questions on how do you start, where do you start at the end too. And keep in mind also, I recorded last year the 5-day podcast challenge, and that'll set you up with title, artwork, all the basic fundamental stuff that you need. All these things that you see here, the artwork, title, episode descriptions, all that. I'm using Joe Rogan Experience as an example to show. But that 5-day podcast challenge sets you up with 5 things you can do right now to take action. And I recorded that actually January of 2022. So
And how do we get that, Thomas?
Naomi has all the links. I can share it
Okay.
later on too.
Okay, thank you.
I just posted
Naomi
it to the
has it.
chat.
Perfect.
So before I
Thank
move on,
you.
one thing, Kimberly want to know about basic equipment. So we're going
Yes.
into how to podcast with equipment. So you see here, I have something that's 2-in-1 right now. I like my hands-free microphone with headphones. So that's two things, piece of equipment right off the bat. You need something to record your voice and something to hear yourself, or something to listen back to your episode later on, that if you're not maybe in a quiet place, you can hear it well. Headsets, so it's something you can listen, be sure and hear what your episode will sound like before uploading everything. Maybe a cable. I mentioned your phone. You can use your phone to record and then just plug in earbuds or something. For the audio professional, they like to use headphones that cover the ears, because it doesn't let the sound escape. If anyone who's a big audio geek like I am, the big ear muff headphones work well, so you don't let the audio escape. And last but not least, I mentioned phone, headphones, and the cable. I use this XLR cable. Could be a USB mic, but the microphone is probably the biggest thing on, and I'll go look up one thing. Microphones on just Amazon. See what comes up here. If you, what I use, this headphone, I can go to. There's some nice ones. There's inexpensive ones, $40. You can start out cheap like that, and they work very well still. $36 gives you a stand and everything with a little spit guard or a wind guard. different types, different ways. USB microphone is the best because it's works plug and play with your computer and all that. But that's the equipment. Before I move into software, anyone have any questions on equipment?
So the microphone is best to have something that stands by itself and you just like lean into, or is it really not that big of a deal?
Like me, this is good because it's always right up there. I have the mic always up there, and it's with the headphones and it's hands free. I can use my hands, I can gesture, and I can do other things without actually. But other people I know have a stand as well, and that can also be hands free as well. And I'll show you that. I'll show you the actual thing. There's some nice wireless handheld, $100 for a set of 2 microphones. That's a good deal for that. I'm gonna go to my orders. Real quick. I get to it quickly. Orders, past orders. So here's that, what I was just mentioning. It went up actually. So this is the one I use. You can probably find different prices in different locations as well. Trying to get a bigger, but it went up a little from the last time when I bought it. Price increase, but other stuff that I've bought too as well that see all my orders. Let me see. There's a web camera just for $50. Then I'm actually currently using that in this Zoom session. So if you do video, it's a great little webcam. And I'm not seeing it exactly. It's been a minute since I bought them. But that's equipment. So next we
Good
have
question.
software. Yes.
What my idea when you talk about art work and that sort of thing, in my mind I wrote out my intro to my first podcast, but it was audio and I wanted to add music to my intro. Is that a recommendation, or is that something? How do you do that? I just am using my phone, but I guess I'd have to figure out, maybe borrow another phone or something. I don't know.
So actually, what I'm going into next will touch on that very nicely, and going into software and editing with Audacity, GarageBand. What I use on my Mac. I know I'm not showing my screen right now, but let's go back to still opening. There we go. Waiting for it to load. So one of the things I didn't actually have open. And then I see the question, what does the cable connect? So I'll get to that here in a second. Where is GarageBand? Open up on my other screen. So this is GarageBand. The window, the first starting GarageBand, I can empty project, new project, start a new project with GarageBand there. And this is what it looks like. You can do a voice, you can USB. If you have a MIDI keyboard, you could hook that up and you can design your own tunes with a keyboard. You can piece together track by track music, like each instrument in the band. Everything, they have drummer and audio and voice. So I use the voice feature the most. And then you can see I just start recording. You can it's not taken. It is. Is it hearing me at all? I don't think it is.
Barely. So GarageBand is an app.
It's an app program that you can download. I think it's available on the phone even too. And this is you. I record all my intros on here. I do my episode recordings using StreamYard.com. And then I come in here to GarageBand and I put together my music using GarageBand, using loops. And let's see if can you hear this? Like instruments. Electric house. Did you hear that? Were you able to hear that?
No.
No,
Doesn't work with everything, I
Nope.
guess. But you can still hear me.
yes,
All right. Yeah. So I sometimes between the apps it doesn't always work with my audio thing. It should be the way it's set up here. It should be taken. But anyway, like these different loops you can put together. And you heard a little music, and when I played the intro, that music was made in GarageBand using loops. These are all loops here on the side. If I move me out of the way, these loops here on the side here, using all those loops. And I put music together using those loops very creatively. By open up a recent project. Project band. Don't save that. And then that's what it looks like. I use this. And
is that 4 different tracks that are all together, or that 4 different recordings?
yeah, there's 4 tracks on this project. So it's multi-track editing. You can
Oh,
set
you can
everything
have
up
music
at.
behind your voice, is that it? And
Yeah.
you can add it in later?
Yep. You can
Okay.
add tracks behind your voice. You can do all that in post if you want to add music over. You have your voice over music and have your little music bed. See if I can. Output devices there. Input device. Oh, see if I at. You can still hear me. So let's see if you can. Let's see if this works now. This is what this sounds like.
Still can't hear it.
Try one more time. Output device into there. And input. Yeah, I don't know how to make that work. Oh, all right. But anyway, that's so I can play. You heard one. I could play a more recent one real quick before I move on here. Go to my folder. Go to this. Have it set up in folders. music. Oh, I know. That's where I have everything now. There's all my audio right there. So here's an opening. What's up, filmmakers? This is Thomas from Keeping It Real in the film world, where you will hear stories. Did you hear that?
Yes.
We heard it. But I didn't hear any music in the
Or-
background.
And another one, trying to find.
That's not coming through clearly.
But anyway, that's the best way if I close this down. So any other questions on did I cover enough, or did you want to know more about editing or putting together using audio and editing audio together? Any other questions?
I have a quick question. So Thomas, GarageBand has like 5-second or 10-second loops of music that's royalty free that you can use, or I mean, how do you know what I mean? How is it already there? Or can
They're
you put it
already
somewhere else?
already there in a kit when it's the GarageBand is I think I paid just like $20 for it. It used to be free, but like and you can download the loop kits and it comes with it. Nothing extra. You can get the loop kits with that, and there are 5-second loops. You can piece them together and try and find the best way to. I go one of my recent episodes. I used them. Just go to my Spotify and go to my. Which one did I use it? Now I have to change my audio. As you think about your meaningful mission and like, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? I always wanted to be on like a production broadcast team, and now I kind of am, and I have been since 2010 with a sports network region, and now I'm with one of the regions too, professionally. So let's start over again. Go into here. Start from the beginning. There you go. Does that sound better now? Next time does that sound better? Sweet tea, and I want to help and show people how to use. I just want to like show the best example of that music that I created using GarageBand. Did you hear that better now?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right. So, did I answer your question on loops?
Yes, thank you
Kimberly?
very much.
All right, so getting back to the cable question, what does the cable connect? Well, when I say cable, you have something. It could be USB, or if you go a little more professional, you want to. I mean, that would be getting complicated and getting more complicated as you go along. As you learn more things, you'll go XLR, and this is my audio device I use every time I'm in a Zoom meeting. Take this big, and it's a Zoom H4n. That's what the device is called, a Zoom H4n. I paid about $150 for that. And that's, I hook up, I have it's 2-input studio essentially. I can hook up 2 different mics, 2 different mic inputs with XLR, or I can go other routes too with adapters. And that's what I mean when I say hookup cable. XLR, USB. Starting out, it's probably best to go USB microphone hooked right into your computer, and there you go, one and done. So we have, I think I saw another one question here. Cable connect. Zoom. I have another Zoom to Timber. Oh yeah, Tawana. I guess Tawana had to leave. If you're still there, is she still there? Did Tawana leave already?
Yes, sir, she left.
Please. Feedback. All right. So no other questions I see in the chat. Any other questions before I move on to recording space and finally publishing? Everyone's good so far. Oh, before I move on, editing programs you can use, and these are free too. Audacity, and put them in the chat too. Audacity, GarageBand, which is what I showed you. Adobe Audition. Who makes mic you displayed? My microphone that I use right now, this is Audio Technica. This is just the brand of this microphone and headset is Audio Technica. That's the brand. My big edit program that I like to use is Final Cut, and I'm also big on Adobe Premiere. They're both video and audio. So that wraps up software and editing. And we'll go and get into recording space. Now you're ready to record. You got your microphone, you have your phone. Now you find a quiet space in your home, apartment, in your place of living. Find a quiet place. Maybe jump into a closet and close. Anyone tell me why the closet?
Because it's
No
totally
echo.
closed off.
No
Blows are
echo.
like the softening of the sound, or like sound barrier.
And the more closed, the better. Because keep in mind that if it's audio only, then you won't see the close. So they're just there as a minimizing the echo in your episode and your show. So you jump in the closet. It's a great way to get into a soundproof room. So get to a quiet, echo-free room, most likely the closet, or wood carpet, or if you go they're not that expensive. You can get some audio panels set up on the walls and everything, and you can soundproof a little office or room. So audio panels, quiet, echo-free closet. Any questions on there? And then I can get into, I'll have about 20 minutes left to get to publishing and get to creative fun part.
One quick question on audio panels.
Audio panels. Okay.
How much of the room should be paneled? How should you panel the whole room? Can you panel a wall or 2 walls or 3 walls off?
Looking up a few images here. There's different ways you could do something like this. They look like this. If I can make this bigger. I'm gonna move me in the corner. So you see in this, there's audio panels there. comes in a set of, I guess what you see here, your 4x3 12 panels, and then what you do with them is, if I can go back, and oh, there's just a nice little design someone put them in. Do something like that, and you can actually create a design. It's something that absorbs the sound into them. Take a little bit to load. The picture's not loading that well. But there's an example there. Try and make this as big as I can. Here's another one.
So you really don't need to do the whole wall. You can do it in segments.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of maybe skill, like to know where sound travels in a straight line for the most part. Now, and when it comes to bass and your subwoofers, then that sound scatters. So that's when if you have bass, it's good to be in like the center part of the room. But like from a speaker, satellite speaker, they'd call them, it travels in one direction. So from the speaker, it goes until it hits another, until the like the sound vibration stops. So, and this, if you know where the speakers are placed, you know where to place and I'm getting a little technical in the audio, I know for sure, but you know where the speakers are placed, where the sound bounces off the walls, so you can stop that bouncing essentially off the walls. That's what these do. Here's
Got
some
it.
more examples of, this looks like a meeting conference room to help make it soundproof and classroom style. So there's sending me that, and here's, I saw a few like egg cartons work good too. You can get a bunch of egg cartons, put them on the wall. They stop sound as well, stop sound vibrations. Or something like this, like foam. There's different types of things that it's pretty much a soft fabric can stop the sound vibrations. Back to Anchor and showing Anchor. So Chris said, I'm talking about the one you showed with dual mics. Oh, those are handheld. Those are more for like probably good if you have a guest, you can put them on a stand. You put those microphones on a stand, and then your guests can talk into those, and they don't necessarily have to have a headset microphone. They just get maybe a pair of headphones, which will be cheaper. But yeah, those are handheld microphones, those dual mics that I showed. I don't have any of those right now. I'm intending on getting some of those soon, because they're good for guests and talking with guests if you have people on your show. Especially those, because those take one input and you can plug one input into your switcher. This is my switcher. You can take that one input and plug it in for both of those microphones. Then you have my microphone plus two guest microphones with two inputs. Works out very nice that way. That's why I was pointing that out. So we talked about recording space, just wrapping up recording space, quick echo-free closet recap, and use of audio panels, or just do a quick 5-minute episode in your closet. Any other else before we move on to the last thing, that's publishing, get into artwork and Canva. All right, if that's what show stands out to you as far as the look? Anyone? Title, the artwork, anything, what stands out to you? What is there a show that stands out to you because of the artwork maybe?
I would have to say that the club coach webinar that was done this year and the artwork
Oh,
that you added to that, I thought that was excellent.
so here's something I did as well. I created this on my own, like for a live that I did in my group, and I was creating these. But there's, yeah, I'll show you. I used that. I made that in Canva. If I can go back to, here's something that you may recognize someone that's in this session and technology team. Remember that? For dashboards. Are you talking about all of these, Naomi?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there's the club coach program.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was created. That was a template. Now I took away the free version, but if you have the paid version, you have access. But it's just add a little design in the background. You add text styles, different text styles to like create like a blank canvas here. Start from scratch. Custom. Something like that. Just pick anything and then start with a background. Something like that. See, like most of the stuff has a watermark because I have the free version now. But there's a background, then you go and start with your text testing, set a style, and you can move it around and test. And this is podcast workshop. Make it a little smaller. You can adjust the size and everything. One by one, or you can just type in text. That's really small. And you can pretty much sky's the limit. There's other reload that and start over with the background. Use that. Or see, that's what you get if you don't. It's just you need to upgrade to use that one. So some are pro features, some are free. Different font types that you can use and elements you can use as well. Is something that use an image, you can just arrange things. Try to show you all the features as best I can here. You can upload your own images. And you can do that. There's that logo from the summit. Take the scan bar, put something on there. Just doing this random thing right now, but yeah, you set the canvas in size and aspect ratio to whatever you need. Like this is set up to be a banner for Facebook. It looks like the way this is set up, but that's most of your artwork would be. I use this or a square. If you go back to, it's a square 1:1 aspect ratio. And how you set that up real quick. 200 by 200 pixels, create design. Now you have a 1-to-1. Now you set up your podcast artwork. And that's a video. That necessarily wouldn't work. Styles. I even added, you can add like Toastmasters colors, and you can, so I add that Toastmaster brand, so I have all the Toastmasters colors already ready to go if I need that. Elements. But yeah, you can do it just a lot with Canva, even in the free version of Canva. Any other thing? Publishing and the uploading is most of the publishing is actually done when you upload, when you're editing, and then you upload to your platform, wherever that is, where the places, the platforms I said, Libsyn, Podbean, Anchor.fm. Most of it is publishing, but when it's all ready and finalized, you hit the publish button and it's live. You have your thumbnail, you have your audio clip and file all together in one published episode. You have your title, have a short description or podcast notes. Some add script, the transcription of the episode on the podcast notes, so they can go back and read the episode one by one. The cost for Canva is $13 a month. And if you pay yearly, you may save a little bit, like 20% or something or more, if you pay yearly for it too. But I know a lot of clubs have, and if you want to do it for the club, since we're relating everything back to Toastmasters, you get on a nonprofit plan, and like my club, we have Canva for free. And we have a nonprofit paid version of Canva for free. So we get all these tools and we don't have to pay anything for Canva. I know some other clubs do that too. Is anything else with title, publishing, the look and feel of your episode? Any questions? Anything I left off?
When you add the image to the front of the video, you're doing that through Audacity, or what program are you adding your image to your video and audio?
When you add the image,
Like your cover image.
the cover image that's
Yes.
created here, you'd have the JPEG or PNG file, and then you'd go into Anchor. But in a sense, I'm going to use Libsyn because that's my podcast host.
Mhm.
I'm going to say, just like I'm going to go create a new episode.
Okay,
Upload audio. So this is where I upload and create everything when I do a new podcast, and when I'm ready to upload a new episode. You have your title, your description, and you have as long of the text box as you need for your description.
mhm.
You set a full episode, or is it a trailer? Is it a bonus episode? What season are you in? Episode number. A title for Apple Podcast is the title of your episode without including any extraneous information such as episode number, season numbers, because Apple Podcasts like to be different. They're just weird and different. Apple Podcasts offer additional fields shown below, so those would just be for Apple. So like I said, they like to be different and label your episodes automatically. So you have your tags, you add tags or keywords, podcast, workshop, learning, anything that has relate to your episode. General category, I have mine in audio production and permalink. And then this and last part here, this is where I would add my artwork add. So your regular square one would be, you click there and then it'll give up a little dialog box and you'd find your square artwork that you created in Canva or maybe Photoshop so all of that is uploaded, your audio file and your picture image is all uploaded in the same spot, most likely. Either anchor.fm or whatever you'd use as podcast host.
Great,
That
thank you.
anything else?
No. It's good.
So I know we're at 7:57, and I know there's like when we started, there's the podcast challenge, and that gets you thinking creative. If you don't have the idea already, that gets you thinking creatively and gets you starting thinking of a title of artwork that you may want to get into. One, I actually do an example of a podcast episode, and I have a live guest on the show in day 4 or 5. So that's a good thing to check out when you're for driving some inspiration. The 5-day podcast challenge. Start taking action. And I'm gonna give everyone here the club cheat sheet on hybrid meetings. I have a little document on hybrid club cheat sheet. It says lays out equipment for hybrid meetings, software, connections, placement of everything. It's all laid out in a nice, easy format. Other than that, is there anything else, or I can turn it back over to Naomi?
Okay.
Well, let's thank Tommy Kenyon for providing this session. It was a lot. I took a lot of notes, but guess what? Not only do we have the 5-day challenge, podcast challenge to go and sharpen our skills with, but we'll also have this video posted in a few days. I want to thank you all for attending this session of Leadership Learning, the podcast workshop. I want to remind you to please, please, please be sure to complete the feedback form that has been posted in the chat. Download the chat. It's a lot of good information in there. We've given you a resource sheet. You have the link to the 5-day podcast challenge, the 5D podcast challenge, as well as the feedback form. Be sure to keep your eye on the District 50 website for more promotions, leadership learning sessions, and all things related to District 50. On behalf of Program Quality, Tommy Kenyon, and all of you, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.
I can upload
Bye-bye.
that here, that
Bye,
cheat
Naomi.
sheet.
Yeah.
And if they're still here, they can grab it quickly, or you can grab it from here and send it out or something too.
Most definitely.
I sent it to Chris because I replied to Chris.
Okay.
Thank you, Naomi and Tommy.
Your workshop
Tommy's gonna have to do a part 2.
PDF.
I think so.
What would
'Cause
you
now
like to
I'm
see
like-
what would you like to see in a part 2?
So we have, Tommy, we have here, the innovation pipeline, and it has a studio that we can use.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, you use a podcast host. I think people would be really interested in knowing which podcast hosts are available and the differences. because that helps
Podcast
those of us
hosting.
who are really new manage doing a podcast. I think that would
Podcast
be
hosting.
really, yeah. I think that would be really helpful. And I think, you know, you were starting to give us examples on how you do your podcasts, right? In GarageBand or whatever you're using.
Mhm.
And then how you would move it and well, edit it, do your podcast, edit your podcast, and then move it to the host. Because I think those type of things really they trip me up. It's like, okay, I did my podcast in GarageBand. Now what?
Mhm.
Now what do I do? And
Or you use Memo, or I record. I can say where I actually record and what I actually do. That can be a part too.
yeah, that would be
What
really helpful.
and maybe have someone as a test guest. I can have a guest and everything come on, and you can see that as well.
Right, and really show us, this is how I record my podcasts. And then, you know, there's usually quite a bit of editing once you've finished it.
Let's do this actually, Naomi. What would be a good conversation to have? Like, we could do a podcast type 2, and we could do like a 20-minute conversation, and where we're recording and everything. What would be a good conversation that we can discuss this after too, when we're out, or what would be a good topic to talk about, and we can actually have a live conversation. The closer to the real and reality, the better. So
Right.
actually have a live conversation.
Well, there
It-
could be a couple of things. Go ahead, Kelly, so I don't just jump in there, because I will.
Well, you do a lot of sports, right, Tommy?
Mm-hmm. Sports podcast.
You could do a sports podcast. You could do it on something in particular for Toastmasters International, something that is confusing to people, maybe. But I like the sports thing because
I could
that's,
talk about pathways.
you could talk about a lot of things. But yeah, do a podcast, do the questions and answers, maybe for 10 or 15 minutes, and then show us what happens after that. Because I think we can all get
Okay.
on a recorded device and talk away, but
Mhm.
then what? Maybe we have this 10, 15, 20-minute audio file. And I know I don't like the sound of my own voice. So I would need to edit. Got Chris Williams to laugh. But then
I
I
didn't
would,
like the sound of my voice either, but now I do. I don't like how I look on video still, but I actually like the sound of my voice. Maybe I'm a little more narcissistic now, but
no,
I
don't
actually
think
like the
that's it.
sound of my voice now. I used to didn't.
Can I add something? I think that maybe we I was starting to write something in my comment. Just pick some silly story like Humpty Dumpty and take it through, and don't worry about the subject so much. You could
Mhm.
interview, you know, the horseman or whatever, and then you go from the art to the editing and all the different steps and take it through. It's a simple story, everybody knows it, and you just take it through all the steps all the way to the end of a silly, really simple little podcast. It could be for kids if necessary, but it's a story we all know, and it's not that hard to put together word-wise, editing-wise, and so forth. A couple of pictures and you're done.
I like
It's
that.
a
So this
process it's the process that we don't understand.
Right, that's what I was, thank you, Helen. You
Yeah.
simplified my circular thinking.
this-
Thank you.
this was important because it goes through why you do it, and the popularity of podcasts, where you do, but that pod 2, we can set that up, Naomi. How does that sound? Let's set that up.
Okay, it sounds good. I'm going to work through the calendar. I will be sending you, Tommy, 3 links, probably no later than this Thursday, 3 requests for links. Now, those 3 would just
Okay.
be for February by themselves. Then we can possibly see whether or not we can squeeze in that session as well as 1 or 2 more for March, but I don't want the people fussing at me because of contests. So
Oh yeah.
I'm
So
gonna
it,
be
I
mindful
was
of-
thinking on something like that, but maybe have an hour. We may not need it all, but have an hour and a half window for
Okay.
this.
All right, so here's a suggestion as well. What about doing like a 5 or 10-minute video for the upcoming conference, spring conference? It could be general enough just to capture the information, but
Mhm.
still allow us to see the process. And if they want to use it after it's done, then it's done, and she can go from there.
Okay.
I'm just capturing 2 birds with one stone.
Conference
I'm
promotion
sorry.
and creating content for the podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
A twofer.
2 for 1, because April will be the time when we really start pushing conference.
Mm-hmm.
April should be the time that we should start pushing conference. That will give
All
us
right.
enough wiggle room for additional leadership learning, to plot it in the schedule and to weave it in between the contests, and still allow you to be able to show us what to do, edit it, and post it to the hosting site.
Like I said, and we can set that up. And that 5-day. I think.
Yes.
Let me just go look, so I'm not assuming what because I can't remember what day it was.
Okay.
It's on my YouTube. I'll go back to show the screen again on my page.
But I think that's really great, Naomi. And I think those of
Trailer
us,
record. Oh yeah, day 4. So if you day 1, 2, 3, introduce it. And so I actually have a guest, and I go into the actual recording of the show. Was it day 4? Oh.
Do you want me to stop the recording to the cloud?
Oh, yeah, you can. I think that